Did that work?
I will see.
I suspect it did. Oh, yeah, it's switching over. So,
Wait.
Hard.
all right. If all the sound bars are moving, then yes, we're live.
Yeah, it is here.
My mic is in fact catching the rain, but it's a good ASMR experience. Hell yeah.
Well, we'll figure it out. Okay, Arc to Arc 5. We are progressing apace. Yeah. How are you guys doing?
We are existing. Michi has
that bad.
Yeah, Michi has turned into Punpun.
I have.
He's been taken over.
Yeah.
My personality has been overwritten by Punpun.
On an unrelated note, we're going to do like 4 or 5 volumes of Punpun at once next time. Don't worry about it.
No.
We don't need to go that far.
Really? We don't need to go that far? Interesting observation.
Yes.
Yeah,
so we're starting with Soul Eater, right?
Okay. Yeah, I think so.
We usually start with Soul Eater, don't we?
Most of the time.
Okay. Yeah, bake it away, toys. Go, Meech.
Woo!
Hey,
it's the operation to get brew. Yeah. Cool magnetic island. Man, I sure like everyone's funny winter outfits. They look so cozy.
Yeah, a lot of good style this episode.
Completely unrelated, but this arc always gives me like a weird sinking feeling because it's like the last thing the anime adapted, like truthfully. So I was like reading it being like, this is the end, and I was like, oh wait a second, this is the manga. I like. It's cool how we're still going to like new, interesting locations, despite so much stuff already happening. Like this island with this magnetic vortex, and they've also started to get like more kind of hardcore. Like there's just like it's a straight up war, and they're murdering arachnophobia members.
Sid
just knifes the guy 50 times in like every vital organ.
So just remember, they're just straight up murdering people.
They
at least
just
killing them.
I mean, Shinigami's never made any qualms about just murdering witches. That's the thing. Like witches are just like born witches. Like you don't decide if you're born a witch. You just are a witch. And Shinigami is like, yep, you're dead. He just wants to genocide.
I remember liking this arc in the anime, but reading it felt weirdly disappointed.
It's kind of anticlimactic. Yeah.
I will say, I think this clutch of chapters was not quite as good as the last one. Yeah. It was still very good.
Okay.
It's pretty decent. I mean, the Tempest and Brew part is the better part of the stretch we read, I think. But like the starting with the internal affairs and the clown stuff, I feel it like loses a bit of steam.
Well, this is all big setup for the massive assault on Baba Yaga Castle, which is next. Like, that is so big we're gonna have to split it in two, I think, because it's like.
Yeah, I mean that's fine.
It's close to 20 chapters of
anyway.
Yeah, just like it's like that. It's like the Aogiri and Tokyo Ghoul. So it's. Yeah, they're setting up a lot of stuff, especially with the clown and the internal investigation thing. It takes a long fucking time to reveal what happens with BJ.
Beat the shit out of people.
No, I meant what happens to. I mean, who did it? Yeah,
his title is funny.
But okay, let's roll back here. Yeah, that is because his name is Butataki. Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, just to re-rail, if we're talking about the island assault, magnetic storm, snow arc.
We are.
It was very good. I think the best part is definitely when Soul is playing the Soul piano.
Yeah, absolutely.
To like sync everyone together.
That big 2-page spread of him. Yeah, on the keys is great.
Yeah, that was Shonen Kino, as you say. And I still don't understand the consequences of this. Did he just infect everyone with Soul?
No, because the resonance was not strong enough between the they would have to have such a perfect resonance for that to happen. That,
I think that's why the little devil was pissed off for him ending.
If it had gone on longer, it may have happened, but Soul was able to reel stuff back in pretty easily. I like a lot of stuff about these chapters. I like how much action our second squad is getting here. Ox and Kim and Killick.
Yeah, that's like
are doing some cool stuff. I like seeing Sid back in action. Is cool with his partner. He has I like how he always remembers everyone's techniques. Like he's in a snowy place, but he still brings back Sid's like zombie underground stuff. He's like going around underneath the snow and popping out with Nagas. Fighting Mifune is very cool.
Him versus Mifune is like probably the best of the fights in this stretch.
Mifune fights are always gonna be up there, I guess.
The mosquito fight, which, as I said, I felt was
the mosquito fight is a bit. I mean, it's a bit of a non-fight, really. Incidentally, speaking on translation notes, I remember Jaws sharing that Killick's move is Aphex Twin when he punches the golem. On my official volume, it is translated to AFX Special or something like that. I'm trying to find the exact page, but it says AFX stands for like something Fist Extreme. I mean, AFX is a name used by Aphex Twin. Like he does release under the name AFX, which is short for Aphex. I wish I could. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it says AFXT, Arm Force Extreme Twin. That's it. Close enough, but obviously a case of not being able to secure the name Aphex Twin. Which is funny. Also, I'd totally forgotten Sid is called Sid Barrett, like Pink Floyd.
Oh, true.
Yeah. That's funny. We have Kim Deal from the Pixies. Yeah.
What did you think about Jack O'Lantern?
That's funny.
How about the fact
coincidence?
How about the fact that Oxford's partner is called Harvard D?
Yeah.
I don't even get that one. Like,
Harvard
why?
University, Oxford University.
Yeah, but why?
Because they're just universities. I don't know. Because they're English.
They're the study buddies.
He's also called Eclair, which is all
that's
odd.
Like naming. That's like naming a character Cincinnati or something. It's like, oh, it's a reference to the city, but why? Why does he care about the city?
You gotta realize in Japan, this is like harder to realize, and then realizing it is like, oh, that's clever moment because it's not that common, I suppose.
Maybe they just see it as something classy and powerful.
Yeah, like Redacted had the thing where he talked about how like almost all Japanese humor is very like pun based, even when it's like dialogue stuff. Like they love wordplay and puns and just having something allude to something in English.
This happened in One Piece this week. I also realized with the magnetic storm thing, where it's like basically quiet on the other side, that I subconsciously stole that from my novel.
Oh damn.
That is a cool setting of like having the past sort of like walk through. We get to see Abon show up. We see the witches.
Little outfit that he has. It's very.
I like his outfit.
Shinigami-sama seems to have.
Oh yeah, we have scary Shinigami.
Packs.
Yeah,
and a scary mask.
Yeah, he has got a scary mask on, and he swears a lot still, back from his hardcore days, as they say.
And an accident, in air quotes, has destroyed the facility.
Yeah, that's right. Kablamo. Shinigami chop. It's funny to think that, like, especially old Shinigami, but even new one, if they just saw Angela the cute witch, he would just crush her skull with a Shinigami chop instantly upon seeing her.
Yeah.
No qualms.
I mean, they kind of get into that a little bit, where a couple of the girls are witches
because they're witches. Well, like I said, they just happen.
Blood, at least.
Witches can be born. No, I don't think Jackie is a witch. Actually, I think Kim is the.
Yeah.
I think she's just her partner who knows she's a witch, and she's also kind of maybe being the weapon of a witch meister makes you feel like you're complicit, maybe. I don't know. My favorite thing about this stretch, I think, actually, is Stein going fucking cuckoo bananas. It's one of my favorite things.
Stein got a lot of good stuff this stretch.
Yeah, I like the stuff with him. I love that scene with Spirit where he offers him cigarettes, and he's like, "If I can't resist smoking, I don't really stand a chance of resisting the fucking Kishin madness." So no.
And then later he smokes anyway.
Yeah, which is bad.
What did you think about him maybe getting framed? I don't hate the idea of that in general. I was a little befuddled where like every character except Shinigami gets in a circle and says, "Listen, we're going to let you go." And I was just thinking, like, would Shinigami fall for this if someone is framing Stein? Like, he's pretty he's pretty good at sussing out betrayal and knowing who to be suspicious of.
I don't think even Shinigami thinks it. I think it's more like keep up appearances for the general order of Death City, which is implied. Like, Death City must have a lot of like much more reasonable bureaucratic people that have to have stuff like spelled out, and they're not all gonna buy Stein being innocent when there's no one else to arrest and I guess execute. That's just the...
Okay, I maybe misread that. I kind of thought the implication was even Shinigami doesn't know about this.
Well, they probably didn't spell it out for him, but I think Shinigami kind of
he wouldn't
suspects it because he's really clever and he knows everything that's going on in Death City.
Yeah. It's fucked up they brought a new character in, and then he just kind of goes. I mean, good for the author in a way because there are a lot of characters already. But
they give him lots of good scenes. Like I love that scene of Mari getting ready for him because he's her ex, and she's like putting on makeup and like putting out her chest, and she dresses in like a really like showy dress, and Spirit is like laughing like, way to overdo it.
Yeah.
Like I like all also that stuff.
That's funny. He activates his power. It's like, okay, I'm a human lie detector. I just have to kind of like rub my hand between your boobs for a second.
I have to tap you in the boobs, and then he unlocks
and his fist too. Like
and then he unlocks his ultimate like soul resonance power seconds before he gets fucking murdered.
Oh, I thought he had that before.
No, he mentions earlier that something like, oh, you know, I'm getting close to being able to see through the witch's thing even, but he implies that he isn't able to.
Yeah.
Then the second he does, like, before in the alleyway, he's like, oh, damn, there's a bunch of witches in the city. Oh, fuck, gets killed.
I thought he had just entered the range or something of them.
No, he just unlocked that. He just, like, reached the peak.
Well, you know, we hardly knew Yi, but, you know, he served his purpose.
Sorry, blowjob. Bye.
He only wears jorts.
At least, he does. At least he gave us a cool 2-page spread where you see everyone's madness.
Yeah, I'm happy. Speaking of witches,
oh yeah,
you know,
go on.
What do you think about Krona? Because on one hand, I thought it is a little bullshit that they would just be standing in the open like this, but then I remembered, half the characters in this story are fucking stupid as shit. So it's actually not that weird.
I mean, I feel bad for Krona the entire time because even when they're still doing spy stuff and spiking drinks and stuff, they're still like, "Hey, you'll let me stay at the DWMA, right?" It's like, no, that's okay. I mean, Krona is my favorite character in Soul Eater, so
I think Jaws is getting a little more vindicated, where Krona would have benefited from just a couple more chapters of development before we got to this point. But
just a few, like if she had been part of the basketball game, like if that had been said after she'd been released from the little store, for instance.
I kept hoping they would take Krona along on more missions. Like on it would it have been that bad to have Krona along in the fight for Brew? Wouldn't even Medusa have wanted to have Krona there? Even pulling the switcheroo, like that would be clever. I don't know. It could have been something. This
is like skipping a little bit ahead, but I have like a little bit of a gripe with how Death the Kid is handled this time around when they go to the clown thing and he does nothing.
That bugged me
like,
too.
That's a weird writing choice.
That seemed a bit forced to get Death the Kid out of the picture for the.
Yeah, like, why bring
But
him
it's like
along
if they
when
were
you
gonna do
can-
that, why did he come along anyway? Because like they don't even mention Maka doesn't go like I need a partner to go with me to this assignment. You're just like I'll show them. I'll take this assignment, right? And then Death the Kid just like shows up and he's like bye.
I don't remember exactly where it was. It was cool when Death uses the soul aura to like charge his gun.
Oh yeah, the when he shoots Mosquito with the death cannon and there's like a grinning skull on the shot that looked really fucking cool.
Maka and Soul have been kind of underpowered and like they've been slipping a little in the group, so like giving them something they can occasionally do that puts them in the center. They've
been bummed out at not being as strong as Death the Kid is always overpowered because he's a fucking god, and then Black Star has been Black Star has been trying to become a god. That's one of the highlights too. I like the fight between them a lot, where I like when Death the Kid kicks Black Star's head into the fucking concrete and he's like, what happened, man? Yeah. You were meant to surpass the gods, Black Star. And Black Star fucks off. I like Black Star going crazy. I mean, he does a great job selling, like, you know, ever since Kishin Ashura escaped, there's like, oh, you know, madness is kind of spreading around, and early on we don't see it as much. Now we're really starting to get the idea that, like, yeah, basically most of the characters that have anything to do with madness are kind of losing their shit slowly here.
Everyone gets like agitated.
Yeah,
irritated.
everyone's really on edge. It's very sad. I like the relationship a lot between Stein and Mary as well, where it's like semi-romantic in a way, but also Stein is like a psychopath autist. So it's like. And they have kind of like they have the weapon meisters thing, like obviously.
She knows that. You know, she realizes if she plays her cards right, she'll unlock like the ultimate fuck machine.
Yeah.
But Stein is not remembering her birthday ever, so you know it's a tightrope to walk.
Yeah. And man, do you feel bad for poor Oxford? And he just wants.
Do you think when Stein has sex, he imagines his penis as like a giant scalpel?
I think he casts the stitch thing so that the person can't get away.
Oh, that's okay. But yeah, what do you say? I don't know. I
was just talking about Oxford's silly face when he gets rejected by Kim, and he stares, and he talks about
his hair is stupid.
Yeah, he talks, but it's the pillars of his core, of his personality.
He had a better core.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the worst haircut ever.
I will say the art is really reaching like heights of like around this era is my favorite era for the art style, kind of. Specifically the next arc, like the assault on Baba Yaga Castle, has probably the strongest like artwork in terms of inventiveness and like expression. It's great all the way through to the end, but like it becomes kind of cleaner and more like formulaic going forward, where it's like it goes into this groove where it looks like Fire Punch more.
It's weird to say this. I do miss a little of the early volume jank, where sometimes you know Maki would just have like a very derpy, pouty face in her early appearances. I do really like some of the little illustrations we get where a character will be in the distant or they're out of frame and they have like wonky, curvy little
like
bodies that aren't
chibi.
They're not quite chibi, but they're very cartoony. That's cute.
But he's been doing a great job just like keeping everything very expressive and very like I don't know, kind of like intense looking, where he's been using like a lot of screen tones. He does like good tricks with like drawing like effects and patterns outside of the characters' lines to make them like seem crazier.
And when he goes hard, he knows really when to just completely let loose. Like Soul with the piano. Death the Kid shooting his bomb, and it's still in the shape of like ghost faces and stuff.
Almost anything with Medusa too. Like he gets a lot of mileage out of Lolly Dusa and her like shadows curving around, all the crazy faces Stein makes. Yeah, the all this contorted stuff is just really strong.
He's really good at knowing when to switch away from literally showing what's happened, you know, just as a draftsman, and go to almost like an illustration or a painting, where big patches of it are not anything literal, and he's like has big areas of light and black that wouldn't actually be there in real life, and
that's
cool.
my
He's
favorite
good.
thing. That's my favorite stuff about the clown fight, is there's a lot of really good, like, interesting weird drawings in that stuff to do with, like,
what I like about it.
With the witch hunter attack and the madness waves, and then he's cutting away to like this goofy slapstick thing with the Flying Dutchman.
That's what I really don't like about this.
But the hat bit was so funny though.
No.
He seals her away, and then he's like, I put my head in there, and then he goes and he gets shredded, and he's bleeding out of his head. I mean, maybe it went along a bit too far, but still, it was pretty cool.
It was so unnecessary.
The mask crumbling away, and you see Maka's face.
Yeah, that
effect
Star
was
Wars.
really good.
Yeah.
That felt that's what I like about that section with the.
I like introducing a clown as just a scary thing, because clowns do become a big deal.
I like him taking off his nose.
Taking off his nose and throwing them and shit. Yeah, clowns are an important part of the villain, or the villain groups going forward, as like a separate entity species of the Kishin, essentially the Kishin faction. But yeah, I'm excited. This is a lot of prelude, and I'm very excited for the next arc. Like, the next arc is just like fight after fight after fight, and they're all really fucking cool. I can't wait. Also, how could they lock up little Dusa like that? How dare they? Or rather, how could she let herself get locked up like that?
How could she rat out her own witches' sisters?
I know, right? Yeah.
How could she do that? I mean, we know that she doesn't fucking care about
Yeah, she does not give a single shit.
Yeah, and there is some good setup here where, you know, both the different factions are trading members a little bit.
Yeah,
and Stein
that's right.
is just becoming a wild card that's running around without his shirt on.
Stein and Medusa are kind of wild cards in this. Black Star 2 is like running off in a way.
Yeah, and like I noticed like Free has not shown up, so I guess he's still inside the castle.
Disguised as a giant arachnophobia member. He's still very funny. Like, it's still very charming and funny. There's still like lots of little moments of humor with the characters, even though the story is becoming more self-serious.
Mosquito.
Oh yeah, Mosquito is funny.
I knew they were going to do something jank with his body where he wouldn't be shaped anything like he is now. I was not expecting him to be a hulking gorilla man with tiny little legs.
Well, they do a lot of teasing of, like, he says he's going to go for his 400 years ago form, and then he's like, nah, never mind. So they do. There are other forms of Mosquito upcoming, which is nice. That form of Mosquito is the silliest. It's just like supposed to be like a big defense form, so that they have to tap into Soul's madness wave to be able to put a dent in it. But yeah,
kind of like one of the best parts of Promised Neverland. Actually, not too far after when the anime leaves off, or at least the first season.
Yeah.
It's actually great. They get like trapped in this arena where demon nobles are hunting them for sport. And there's like one character, I think his name is Lewis, but there's a character who's like 20 feet tall, absurdly strong, can like run faster than you can see and punch through buildings, and he's just ridiculous. He's by far the most powerful character who shows up in the series, like probably by an order of magnitude. But as they go along, they reveal he's the demon equivalent of being like 98 years old, where he's a decrepit old man who like needs a walker, relatively speaking, but he's this strong. And when he was young, when the actual war was happening, he was like 10 times stronger than he is now. And that was just a really great fight, because the whole time you're imagining like how bad was he before, if he's a shriveled old man at this point and he's still this strong. Like that was fun.
I remember him deflecting machine gun bullets.
Yeah, he was like destroying tank battalions on his own when he was Yeah,
I
you probably do that.
I do always like those tropes of like the old or the like debilitated old time hero, kind of like Artorias in Dark Souls, where you fight him and he's all riddled with abyss darkness and one of his arms and legs is broken and he's still kicking your ass and you're like, oh.
You're like Yoshimura
Yeah,
in Tokyo Ghoul.
right. Okay.
Hell
well,
yes.
I don't really have much more to say about this part of Soul
Yeah,
Eater.
neither do I. Just, I guess it's good that they did a double fake out with Brew, where they said, it's actually fake. Oh no, it's actually real. Yeah.
Right, that's like one tiny little thing. There's like this little piece where I think Azusa informs, I forgot who she informs about like the progress of the war, and she says they're losing because of the brew, which, well, they don't have the brew, so they're losing even
The brew,
even though Arachne doesn't have the real brew. So it's interesting.
Well, the power of brew is so overwhelming that just having the psychological threat of brew is enough to tilt the scales, I guess.
Yeah, it's just funny.
Yeah, it is
they can't
funny.
even handle the Arachne right now when they don't have. I don't even remember what brew is supposed to do. So
They don't really say, to be honest.
I think they say it later, don't they?
Do
Isn't
they?
it used? Like, I don't remember.
Maybe they do. I mean,
it must have a purpose. Otherwise,
everything to do with Avon is pretty can get pretty confusing because they like essentially Avon's like demon stuff can just do whatever the fuck in later bits. But yeah,
we will see. I'm pretty sure.
Very
it was
cool.
Silly.
Yeah,
so, Rip
not
Joe.
too much more to say about this. Just we will continue.
Yeah, it's good.
It's the middle.
It's the middle.
It's progressing the established points.
There was not a lot of fights in this bit either to talk about. There was a couple on the island, but even then, we had Justin versus that was funny when Justin showed up and he causes an avalanche with his headphones.
He said, I was speaking loud and it caused an avalanche instead of the giant bass thing.
Yeah, that's right. He's like blasting his tunes. That was silly. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
final thought before we move. Yeah. It's fun that Blair is participating.
Oh, yeah,
okay,
that was nice.
On to Tokyo Ghoul.
Tokyo Ghoul. It
got
the really
promised
good.
day has arrived. yeah. I mean, I think we'd both been sitting here being like, how do we tell Jaws that we don't get why this is his favorite manga?
We're like, Jaws,
it's like, okay.
Jaws has read the other two manga we're doing a podcast for, and the other two are so much better than this. What is the deal? And then it's like, oh, I see.
Yeah, it's definitely not a favorite of mine still, but it got way, way, way better in the course of like 2 chapters.
What I found funny about it is that the manga, it felt like the author changed when the character did.
Yes.
Like they both like had a jump in maturity and power level around the exact same point in the story. That was very strange.
Yeah, I mentioned the burnout that Ishida was like getting seriously affected by that time, and it's caused like a loop, so to speak. Like Ishida felt like shit. He put it like he made the character go through shit that made Ishida feel like shit, and it just became a circle of feeling shitty. And
that makes sense.
But it also seems like its art got strangely better, even though he was like burned out. That's interesting. Like he cared way more about certain things.
He just burned himself out toward a like jumping up a level. Yeah, that's like that's what really sold it to me was like if it had just been the story and character jump ahead, I would have been pleased. But the jump in artwork really was really what pleased me the most, where I was like, oh my god, it's Shojin X, but like a different style too.
It's like I prefer this style more than like Ishida's later style in Shojin X and later stuff in Re.
I would describe it as like more smeared and kind of melted.
Yeah,
than,
it's like more scratchy.
Yeah, exactly. But man, we start off strong with my boy Stitches commandeering a motorcycle and ramming it into a building. But right away, not only was that artwork also better than stuff he could do before, also his layouts, his paneling,
his layouts, it's like
his readability of the page, like that. I'm thinking of like that one page thing where whatever their name is like kills like 5 ghouls in a row, and you see them like flipping around and like slicing one to the next. No, I didn't mean Amon. I meant the Stitch guy. When they jump onto the veranda and then they cut like
is it Suzuyu or something?
Suzuya. When Suzuya kills all those ghouls, the sniper ghouls all in a row, I was like, oh, that's really good. That's a really good way of conveying that like complicated action. And everything. And then. Yeah, that was already really cool. I was already hyped. Like, oh, I have this cool seeing the doves actually like dispatching ghouls like this. I like that the commander guy who no one really likes is not just like a windbag. Like he does just like take a rifle and blast them in the head and is like, come on, what are we doing in here? Yeah, and also once his bike gets trashed, he's not like, my bike, he's like, charge, fuck it.
Yeah, but he's still like very broken up about this.
I'm sure afterwards he's gonna be like crying in the gutter, but for now. Okay, but go on.
I like how sort of serious he gets once he is informed that the owl has shown up. Like,
yes,
he's an interesting character.
They do a
like
good job hyping that up.
Serious, like he can do both.
Yeah,
strange that he's leveling up personally at the same time where he's kind of developing a fuck it attitude towards gratuitous, borderline pornographic edginess. Like the thing where it's like, I'm gonna cut all your fingers and toes off and put them in a bucket and then let them regrow, and I'm just gonna keep doing that for days and days.
I'm gonna stick a centipede in your ear. That's the big one.
How is that worse than the?
That is absolutely worse. That is absolutely worse.
Yeah, that's just worse.
Because you can imagine like someone like chopping off a thing is just like a very like extreme version of getting a cut, like a writhing thing like trying to scratch its way out of your head for God knows how long.
Like all centipedes are venomous and super aggressive, so every bite
like it would be ripping you from the inside out in your head. That's like too horrific to contemplate. That was like enough for me to make me like quiver, and that's not easy.
I really like the panel.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like that. This reminded me a lot of Soul Eater, like having like these like broken up crazy things. He does really good stuff with text. He does it later again when he's mentioning all the bones that are being broken.
He's really good.
He really sells that. Like that really makes you feel like you're in the character's head and you're going crazy. That's the main highlight is Kaneki getting tortured. It's also
like him reckoning with his past and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was very believable too. Like I was the whole time I've been like, okay, I know he gets like white hair, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, how does it happen? And this is like a perfect justification for that. I was like, okay, I totally buy it. Yeah, this is probably the only thing that could make you change a lot in 10 days. Would have to be this. Yeah.
His backstory was very Three Gatsu.
Yeah, it did feel a little.
So almost
about it, like specifically like the stuff with his aunt once he's moved there.
It's a perfectly believable story of this kind. It did a good job. Taken in and thinks things are working out, and then he just ends up being the odd man out because he fucks up the family dynamic.
It did a good job being very traumatic, but in a mundane way, where it wasn't like my mother got killed by a serial killer in front of me, or I was there at the site of a fucking explosion, and I had to crawl my way out with no legs. It was just like, oh no, I just was left in a really shitty situation because of family members dying and people stopped caring, and so I've grown up like semi well adjusted, where I still well enough to like finish school and go to university and be like a polite, nice man, but also I have very deep-seated internal issues that haven't really had any airing so far, because I just act like a normal guy. That was very believable. I was like, okay, it makes sense that he would never mention this so far, but also it'd fuck him up.
It's a genuine thing to be hung up on, but it's also something that's like, it happens every day. You know, we're not going to stop and get too far into it, but it's
funny that I clicked on this, because this was one of the pages where I was confused why his head was like cut. Like, I guess it's supposed to be like a hat, but he uses the panel border. Why is his brain missing?
I think that's her hand. His mother's
that's
hand
her hand. Okay, okay, that looks very strange because of the way he didn't finish the outline. Looks like his head has been dented in by a hydraulic press.
I'm looking at a 1-inch version of it, so it looks like he's wearing a white yarmulke.
That's fine.
Or he's one of those Catholic monks.
Yeah, he sure is.
The big problem with Tokyo Ghoul up to now, if I would say it felt like it was continually introducing elements and not knowing what to do with it, and it was constantly setting things up that didn't really go anywhere. So much of the dialogue and narration and progress, it was just like endlessly cycling through the situation without actually having anyone be proactive in it. And now we finally got to the part where he's using the elements appropriately rather than just like having them be in limbo or using them to set a tone. And it's like, okay, now it's good.
Yeah, he's finally, like, with the start of this arc, like the stretch we did last time, he's finalized almost all of the concepts and stuff like it, and introduction stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. A weird metaphor, but I noticed, well, I told Meech the other day, like, some of the early faces and how they're just a little jank, I noticed, like, it looks like a lot of the characters they look like they're slightly constipated while they're in panels. It's like the first act, everyone is constipated, and now we're to the part where everyone is actually actively shitting now. So it's like, yes, progress.
Yeah, he has a lot of great faces with the bad guys.
Yeah, I really like that panel of Jason being on the ground with one eye.
He does stuff like that. He did really good, like I don't know how to describe, but like kind of like pulled back shots where you just see like a kind of like scribbly silhouetted version of someone just like standing menacingly. He did it really well. Very cool, like bold actiony things, like him biting into Rize or into
like the
Jason.
stretch has some very like iconic art, like the I Am Ghoul is like one of the most well-known.
I Am a Ghoul is really good. The one I stopped on just to like marvel at how far he'd come was like the one where he throws the guy through the multiple floors.
I mean, you probably know better. Like, I don't find that super impressive, but it does look good. Like, I was more impressed by the Armon chopping through like 5 ghouls at once, which was like, okay, this is just straight up Berserk. Like,
that one was.
There's so much Berserk inspiration in this part.
What
of the story.
liked specifically about that one where he throws, what's the guy called? Aogi, the brother. What's the brother called?
Is it Ayato?
Ayato.
Ayato. When he throws Ayato, what I like about that 2-page spread a lot, if I could find it, I forget what chapter it was he's done a really good job of having these like cool looking really deep black shadows in the middle of the screen tones. And so it's like an impressive, it's kind of like this bulging fish. I mean, I really wish there was a way for me to Google like
it's in Discord
versus but I would have to drag it into the thing. It would be annoying.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, could you right click and do open a new tab?
I guess I could. Hang on. Discord.
Or you probably like you put it in general, so you probably have to scroll through lots of messages to find it.
While he's doing that, I'll say a big improvement in the fights here. The fights up till now, the action scenes, their emotional realities behind them have either been very obvious or very static. where a lot of the fighting scenes have been the bad guy is saying they're going, I love doing this bad thing, and Kaneki is screaming, no, don't do bad thing, and he's either running away or reluctantly fighting, and then they go to a new guy and he's like, I love doing bad thing, and Kaneki's like, no, don't do bad, and it just keeps going.
Yeah.
We're finally getting to the point where there are interesting character dynamics tied up in the fights, where Kaneki finally has an interesting emotional change tied up in the action, and also the stuff with Owl.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of the more significant fights, and it's telling you a lot about his character as he goes through it. In a way that's going to have, you know, it's going to affect what we do in the future, because it's like, oh, this character, there's a lot to him. It changes how we look at him.
Found it. Yeah. Specifically this page, this 2-page spread. I like the fisheye bulge, but I like how this like blurry, almost like black ink like melding effect he does with the shadows here looks really cool. And then it just does a really good job like selling the like the page turn here with this like diagonal blasting thing. The figures are really well done here. It looks very cool. I wish the kanji weren't so big and the lettering over it. But it just looks very cool. I was like, we could have gotten nothing like this like earlier on. They did a good job selling the like, just having these like close-ups with all the bones. I like that. I like this last one too, where it has like he almost draws his hair in like the negative with the black and white. Like he's getting a lot of mileage out of the white hair too, because it contrasts really well with everything. I like that page a lot where he's like, this shut up and listen.
Yeah, that one's a really good one.
That's a really good one. Like the hands look really cool. I like his black nails a lot too. Like I don't know if that's like his nails have been torn out so many times or what.
Yeah, it's never explained.
It's never really explained, but I'm always a fan of that.
Like just the dried blood from like regenerating this over and over again.
I'm always a fan of that. Unlike characters, always looks really cool. Just having straight black nails like that. He does a great job selling. It's cool when he gets the mask back as well. Like it really suits him now.
I like it's like story technically. The switch in his personality is like very big. Like if you compare his pacifistic personality to how he reacts after this, it's just such a big change.
But I was impressed by like how it manages to sell it where it's still believable. Like.
Yeah,
because it doesn't feel like it's a very different personality, but it feels like it's something that could have sprouted from his previous personality, where he kind of had to adapt. It's like a weird survival mechanism version of his earlier mentality, where he still is like, I still think he's like a good guy, but he now is okay with going to like warped extremes for his like ideology in a way.
The thing with Kaneki is that he adapts the philosophies of the people that are around him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he realized his old philosophy of that he adopted from his mother. Was not working. Was going to get him killed and everyone he likes killed, and now he's adopted Jason's like strength as the. But the means to protect his people.
He will do it for the right reasons this time.
That's where he is right now. I also really like.
He's gonna cut off someone's fingers and toes.
Only half of them, though. Yeah.
He breaks half of Ayato's bones. But I also like his mini breakdown, basically, when after he's fought Ayato and then Noro shows up, and then the gang comes and sort of interrupts him, and he's like, no, I have to fight more.
That was funny. Yeah, that like the like start and stop fight with the guy, with that masked guy, where they just kind of like fight him a bit. He regenerates and then he's like, okay, bye, walks out.
It's also like an important little moment. Like before Noro shows up, there's like CCG guys, like regular humans that confront him, and he's about to turn on them. He's like, well, can't be helped, and then Noro shows up and kills them. So he just very barely manages not to kill humans, which is going forward is like one of his main lines that he really does not want to cross, is to kill humans.
Also, part of me mentioning Muramasa every single podcast, but the way he jumps in and grabs Toka or whatever is totally when Minato grabs Ayane and saves her in chapter 2. Exactly the same, speeding by and cradling a girl in your arms and being like, "It's okay, I'm here."
I have not reached that part yet.
That's fine.
Right.
What do you think of the backstory with her?
And Ayane?
Yeah.
I like it. I mean, it's like a funny little thing we see like very like earlier in the story that Toka is not good with birds. And here we have little bird things, so we know that just reminds her of the worst parts of her past, and that's why she doesn't like birds.
I enjoyed it. Was a tiny scene, but I enjoyed the old lady like forcing the food in their mouths and being like,
"That I knew it."
Yeah, I knew. Yeah, you were ghouls, but also she's kind of like desperate. She kind of, part of her seems like it's hoping they aren't, because she's like, yeah. It also kind of ties into Toka like eating. Always eating her friend's food, no matter what.
From her father. Just eat.
I learned it by watching you.
Parent and child dynamics are a very big thing that shows up all over Tokyo Ghoul again and again and again.
This one, her brother. There's a lot of ghouls eating ghouls in these, and in this chapter stretch, and the entire time I was thinking also he must be a big fan of Saturn devouring his son. I was getting a lot of those vibes.
Yeah. It's a cool story. Like both of the scenes where we see him eat, pretty cool.
It's nice that he. Yeah, I like the whole thing. I like the Kaneki. We've kind of seen glimpses of him using kind of like genius IQ moves earlier, like when he like derives fight moves out of books and things like that. I like that he now is using that, like he is very confident now, so he's using his intelligence to its most, so he instantly like susses out Ayato's shtick immediately, where he's like, you're obviously like keeping her alive.
His mental barrier has been broken, where he just can be savage when he needs to be.
Yeah,
but that's like the main thing.
He's very like conniving and perceptive now.
He doesn't hold back anymore.
Yeah.
That and skipping a little bit. Ishida does something I find very interesting, where he sort of introduces us to a character with Arima who isn't even present. Like, I don't think I have seen that done in a lot of stories.
Which one is Arima?
The backstory with Owl, like the
young yes, that's right. Yeah. I was curious about that.
Yeah, that's like a sort of a semi-introduction. I mean, we have seen him in like 2 or 3 panels in Amon's backstory and stuff like that, but he hadn't been properly introduced by now, and it's interesting that he basically gets introduced without being even present in the present time of the month.
Yeah, Owl fight was very cool. I'm happy that we get to see the one-eyed ghoul they've been alluding to. I mean, I assume this is him. I mean, there could be other one-eyed ghouls. You mentioned like berserk stuff, which definitely is with this is very berserker armor, which is fine. But yeah, that fight scene had like really cool like angles and shots, and he really went ham on it. Like I was surprised because already there was so much good stuff going on with Kaneki. It was a special treat to get like really cool stuff happening with the doves too. Like I thought, he would have left that kind of like fall by the wayside and become more of like a background element, but no, we're like cutting back to Owl. He's like this fucking cool warlord character. Yeah, we got this cool backstory of that investigator genius guy who managed to cut his arms off or something. It's all very cool. I have nothing but praise for this clutch of chapters. I enjoyed reading it a lot.
Like it also, we get more of like Shinohara, like one of the 2 buff guys in the armor, Yeah, like he's a cool character. We see him fight.
Yeah, that was interesting. The whole like them discussing disposable, like non-essential units, essentially being like, okay, you guys get the fuck out of here because we're like badass, but we can also die. You guys got some.
Like a job for 10 people.
It's doing a good job. The whole like stare into the abyss for long enough. You have to kind of become a monster to fight monsters sort of mentality, where it's like the doves really need to like lose themselves if they want to stand any chance of fighting ghouls, especially really strong ones. Yeah.
Another thing, this also is the point in the story where Ishida does some more show don't tell writing. Like this is something I remembered from just reading everything from Tokyo Ghoul, and I was actually surprised to see that the earlier parts do not even have it as much. But here I noticed, okay, this is the point where he sort of actually starts doing it more. Like, I don't know if do you remember the name of the armor that
it's been a while.
It's named Arata, and if you see Arata, yeah, and if you see the last scene of the stretch with Toka being on her bed and she's holding a ring, like her mother's wedding ring, and there are two names engraved on it, and one of them is Arata. So you can figure out some stuff from that.
Oh my god, that's crazy. Yeah, I did not expect, speaking of stuff being set up earlier on, I did not expect the clown guy from the restaurant to show up again. Yeah. Yeah, I did remember him. He was quite a memorable part of that stretch. I mean, I enjoy having, is his name
Sota.
So yeah, I enjoy having the gourmet around.
You mean Tsukiyama.
Tsukiyama. I meant. Yeah, I like having him around. I'm happy that they kept him alive. He's like one of my favorite of the ghouls, and I like at the end how Kaneki kind of like starts his own like little mini gang. Yeah, and he has like an interesting dynamic with him where the other guy wants to eat him and he wants to keep him around because like, okay, fine, but if you do anything, I'll fucking murder you.
Tsukiyama's actually into that. He likes
Tsukiyama's like, Tsukiyama, you mentioned him being a Hisoka-ish. That was very Hisoka of him being like, oh yes, you've grown so much in this short bit, Kaneki, yes.
This isn't properly communicated at the end of the stretch, but Hinami is also coming with him, which makes the fact that he like basically tells Toka not to come with him like
I was wondering what was up with that.
Like it seems that his motivation at this point is that he does not want Toka to be involved with like the ghoul stuff and have her like try to just go.
Well, I have bad news for him. She's a fucking ghoul, so I don't think that's gonna work out.
Yeah, but it must really suck. Like she basically says, "I'm coming with you," and he just cuts her off and says, "No."
Yeah.
No. Then, but in a sort of passive-aggressive way, so that must really suck.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the dealio is with the manager cafe man quite yet.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
There's still stuff.
Oh, I enjoyed about one thing I didn't mention. Speaking of the art style setting, but also and the characters and stuff, I also enjoy how how I don't know how to describe this. I'm gonna call it homeless chic. Like that's the like chic, like CHIC. That's like Kaneki's new vibe, where he like looks like shit, but the way he fights like looks cool because he's like very disheveled. Like I like his just like unkempt hair, like shitty shorts, barefoot, like demeanor as he just like the way he just like
your 10 days
exactly, but and it's like the way he fights is very weird because he's always like he's kind of like crouching, launches himself around with like his arms kind of hanging. He like flips himself over like with a chair. It kind of reminds me of like capoeira sort of like fighting style, and I like that a lot, like as a contrast to the more like polished fighting styles of the other ghouls. He's just kind of like throwing himself around. He does the really badass move where he twists his own foot.
Yeah, that's also very iconic.
Yeah, around and kicks the guy in the head, and you're like, fuck, this guy is just like this just like unhinged sort of. Again, that also reminded me a bit of Guts in the Berserker armor, like his first fight against Grunbel, where he's also kind of like crouching and launching himself against things and breaking his bones in that way. Yeah, I always like that. Very singular.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that we see like Kaneki's sort of genius from picking up fights, and I like that we now have his internal narration of how he strategizes. Like when he realizes, oh, I cannot straight up pierce through Jason's armor, I have to strip it off and stuff like that. I really like that.
Yeah,
That's in the story now.
Yeah, he.
It's also fucked up that when the fight is over, we see him pull the centipede from his ear. So he did the entire fight with that thing still in his ear.
Yeah, it was still there. Yeah, that was very cool. Yeah, I like his strategizing sort of like, I don't know, it's probably not that far, but it kind of gave me a bit of like light Yagami vibes a bit, where he's like a tiny bit, where he's just like counting his like tentacles and being like, okay, I see, this is how it works, and he is like remembering like bits of knowledge and being like, okay, well, this is simple, I will just apply this logic here and this here, you know.
Yeah, and Suzuya finally gets potential for his new Quinke by finishing off Jason.
Yeah, I am wondering why he's. I am wondering how they're gonna reveal why he's that strong.
You will.
He has a very natural talent.
Okay. And I will say, I think we're nearing the end of Tokyo Ghoul.
Yeah, I think so. Green, you didn't mention that much stuff, but maybe we said everything you were going to.
Well, we're just not stopping talking.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I made the best points early, and then you guys just kind of hashed out detail.
Okay,
Right.
that's fair. Well,
anything specific? Or if there's...
I think I've said my piece. Also, better move on. Okay, Punpun.
Yeah. The uncle really doesn't know how to take a hint.
Yeah, he's
only exists if people hate him.
Yes, yeah. The god of guilt has really worked his magic on him.
It's so I don't understand it, because he found an attractive younger woman who loved him unconditionally.
Yeah,
he's supposed to suddenly become a good person.
Well, that was his only problem, was not having a GF.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, which chapter are we on? Like 40?
Well, we were on volume 5.
Okay, 44, I think.
Around there.
43,
around there.
44.
I've been using a website that just does it by volume, which is easy. Yeah, Punpun. So this was
47. Here we go.
This was kind of the uncle's stretch, or like the conclusion to him coming into focus. In a weird way, it's also, I'll just call Midori his aunt or aunt. Not technically, but that's the role she's in, kind of. It's kind of her time to shine.
That,
but what do you call it? Can you shine with blackness? Is that something you can do?
It's like a black hole sun. They call it the black hole sun effect.
I will say, right up in basically throughout, I was pretty damn sympathetic to Midori. I mean, that's just how Punpun worked. Like, characters manage to remain sympathetic even in their worst moments, usually.
Yeah.
It's extremely understandable, if nothing else. Like, I get why it happened. I also get why she maybe didn't understand it would affect Punpun as much as it did.
Yeah.
Right, he's crying during it, he's crying after it, and he's trying to commit suicide after it. Yeah, that's...
Yeah. I mean, don't you hate it when you lose your
that's
virginity
like
and then you're trying to jump off a cliff?
That's everyone's first time.
I'm joking. Fuck off. My first time, I couldn't stop smiling for like 7 days.
I also had a nice first time. It wasn't anything like this.
But I mean, I had a decidedly mixed first time. I still like. it has to be pretty bad for you to actually like. This is an area where like books and movies and stuff lie to us. Like they always like to show people being all introspective and philosophical after their first time. It's like, no, your first time, it really is just like a physical reaction. It's like being philosophical while you do drugs for the first time. Like maybe a couple weeks after you'll be all philosophical, but like during, it's pretty hard to be upset unless you get like semi-raped by your aunt. Then it's hard.
It makes it even worse because the entire chapter Punpun is just like he really wants to fuck. Like it's like be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, God finally hears you, Punpun.
Yeah, God was being mean to him, but now yeah, that was fucked up of her to do. But I mean, the whole point of Punpun is that no matter who the person is, no matter if you think they're, you know, whatever you think of them, everyone has really nice moments and really bad moments. Like people are very. It's very messy. Simple. It's very people are messy, and it's very simple for someone to hurt someone else incredibly. Like it's the simplest thing for someone to do to someone else, even if they don't mean to. So this is Midori is like one of the nicest characters who takes the most shit constantly, and it's unfortunate that it had to be Punpun who took the brunt of her doing something bad, and it's like she spends a lot of the time after kind of trying to make up for it. So,
and it's also like fucked up. Like when he meets her again, there's this little reveal that he thought he was never going to see her again.
Yeah.
Like he had no intention of ever reconciling with her, which is fucked up. And
that's some of the realest shit, because when you're young, you have moments like that. You're like, well, obviously this is ending our relationship. Then you see the person like 3 times a month for the next 5 years. It's like, huh. This is weird. Remember when we had that like world-ending fight a while ago? That's
of people who are sort of the good people in Punpun. The taxi driver is like one of the big MVPs in Punpun.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Maybe he's the real god.
Yeah, he's the closest to it.
I mean, he's a lot more helpful than actual god. If that's what you want to call him.
I mean, that's also realistic. I've consistently gotten the best advice in my life from various like Lyft and Uber drivers who were, patient enough to listen to me as I complained. Remember that job I had last year when I worked for Shit Fuck Incorporated, as I've taken to calling them. It was actually a Lyft driver was the first person to tell me. He's like, dude, you really need to stop working there. It's like, yeah, I do. Well,
the image of
but in inane detail
on the shore is like one of the best.
Yeah, that was a good 2-page spread of him on the docks there or whatever.
And that's so real too. People just like being briefly in awe of like nature while they're just being a disgusting little.
You see the beauty of nature so often, it's easy to just drown it out into the background. But then when you actually, in weird moments when you're open to appreciating its beauty, it's also kind of it's kind of like a darker reflection of Punpun staring up at the Milky Way. Early on too, where it's like just looking at the sky and being like, the world continues, regardless of what people are going through. Like it's always been there, and it's always going to be there. Yeah, it's humbling.
Yeah, it's because the uncle's trying to have this moment where everything's about him, and the son's just like, I'm here like always, man.
Well, it's also he needs someone to point out to him like, what are you doing? just like think about this really. Like look at yourself for a second. Like you're fucking taking a knife to your lawyer friend and saying, kill me. And he's like, I just don't have time for this, dude.
I just don't have time for
this. It's like trying to have like some samurai honor, and the guy's like, I gotta fucking go, dude. Like, fuck off. Unless it's a job thing. You're fucking weirding me out, dude.
Yeah, he's trying to be guilty, but nobody but him really even cares that much about what he did.
Cares about his bullshit, which is
even Midori would. This would not have hurt her nearly as much if he had not went on this retarded hero's journey redemption quest, wandering the streets trying to kill himself.
Is it cute how Punpun's dick is a little Punpun? Probably not.
Yeah. Also, I kind of looked at the silhouette of Punpun's dick, being like, his dick looks really weird. Then I was like, oh right, he's probably not circumcised.
That's what they're supposed to look like.
The joys of being American.
Yeah, stuff is going badly when you see Punpun drawn in harsh shadow more than normal Punpun during these chapters.
Yeah, he looks more like his uncle.
Yeah,
Green
he sure
mentioned-
does.
Green mentioned the sun being there as always, and we see in this stretch Punpun complaining about the sun.
Yeah,
like the sun.
it annoys him. He wants to be in his room with the curtains drawn more and more.
Punpun doing the delusional fake smile when she gets mad at him.
It's just sad.
Yes, I love every time Punpun smiles like a piece of shit. Nothing makes me giddier with glee when he makes the funny.
You sound like Punpun's god.
Yeah, yeah. Well, isn't it about time he stopped pretending to be a nice person?
I mean, he's figured it out by now.
Yeah.
I think he's in there somewhere.
He.
I don't think Punpun wasn't even that bad in this. Like, he kind of tried to do the right thing. Like, he tries to comfort Midori at various points.
Yeah. No, he tried. Like this was like the last point where he could have turned out okay, and now he's more fucked up than ever.
You know, I'm gonna argue with God a little bit here.
That would be the first time.
Punpun is. Why do I change the pronunciation every fucking time?
It's funny.
but our little bird friend, he is a legitimately sweet kid. I think him being nice is genuine more often than not. He just doesn't face the bad feelings that go along with it. I think he is a legitimately nice, like, young kid.
I think most of all he's just a normal kid. Like, I think he is like. He's a lot more normal than he realizes. He just has, the one or two things that are different about him because of the stuff that's happened to him, and those are enough to topple over the rest of it, kind of. If that makes sense.
He also has like no one really to talk about these things with, or anything else he can helps him reflect on it. Like he doesn't read or something, like, which is one way how people realize those things are normal.
Yeah, he does nothing. His like personal life is very lacking, where he has no interests, passions, or ideas of what he wants to be. He just knows some things that he wants, like, to an insane proportion, and then just wants to block out a lot of his life.
He's just continually. He's not really trying to do anything bigger in life because he's always stuck in the mode of who can I cling to that will make me feel okay for a little bit. Kind of like Midori is.
Love that smile with the maracas is so good. Shake, yeah. I don't understand.
He's like so fucking cooked.
He really is, like, realizing how different you are from all your peers. What's sad about it is that he's trying. Like, he's not like he's not like hiding in his room being a hiki immediately. He's like going out and feeling the, like, it's like feels like you're standing in a blizzard, like just the stark coldness of how alien you are compared to everyone else, and he just wants to shake his silly maracas and play with his Daruma doll.
Like, that really is the big factor here, because nothing Punpun's dealing with is really insurmountable. Like, even getting like semi raped by Midori, that could be like a fun anecdote.
Yeah, exactly.
If he, like, processed it appropriately.
A lot of this stuff will get better with time, or will be a non-issue when he's older. If you are intrinsically, like, completely unable to relate to the people around you at this age, you're probably never going to be able to relate to the people around you for the rest of his life. So yeah, that's a problem.
The isolation is not good. I've been trying to use the word "I" less during these because I notice I say it I begin way too many sentences with "I." Damn it! I did it again.
You're not in writer mode. It's okay to
I
say
think
it.
I think it's okay. How about we shift a little bit?
Well, very quickly, I just want to say, like my big, I don't know, like try hard, fail son, depressive episode, like from like age 23 to like when I met you, basically, or right around. Just if anyone's listening, Michi did not solve this. That's a coincidence. Just don't jump to conclusions there.
But telling yourself that.
But that period, like, a huge accelerating factor was when I got so wrapped up in my problems and I was so, like, unable to deal with them, where the ability to talk to other people just kind of, like, broke. And eventually I realized, like, I just have no one I can talk to about this shit. That's when things started getting weird. Like, things were bad, but they started getting weird. And then that just kind of fed on itself for years.
It's like
until I just kind of like broke with other people.
When you think of someone like Punpun who doesn't have any real friends, it's like, who do you have? Oh, at least he's got his parents. Oh wait. At least he has his uncle, right? Oh,
not anymore.
Okay. And his uncle's nice girlfriend. Oh no.
Yeah.
Midori was like the last.
That was his closest relationship for the last 2 years.
That's so bad too, because before her hand goes for his pants, that's like the nicest thing that's ever happened to him. Just like having this nice woman hug him and lie there with him on the couch.
And then it gets even better.
That gets even better. Cut to his face with the slurpy tongue when Aiko's looking at him.
Yeah, and part of that too is like Punpun. Punpun keeps cleaning to like images of perfection, like thinking that they will protect him or redeem him, because like he keeps thinking like, oh, maybe I'll have something that's pristine and pure and pretty, and Midori doing this, part of it is, as delusional as his lusting for Aiko is, this is like a final nail in the coffin of like the pure like puppy love that he wants to have with Aiko. It can never happen now because he's like this cigarette smoking jaded adolescent who's like, I fucked my how do you lose your virginity? I screwed my uncle's girlfriend surrogate mother figure on a table at her work.
And it was kind of like and I was used as like sort of vicarious reverse revenge on him for him having cheated on her, which of course he would do, and he did it at pottery school, which is just great too. Like, of course, what a fucking moron! Who could have predicted he would repeat the exact same fucking thing? Because he's a fucking idiot. I cut
the only adult who ever was there for me, kind of.
Yes.
While he was trying to kill himself because of bullshit.
It's when they see the dead grandfather, and Yuichi is there too, but he does not interact with Punpun, and we see him look out of the window.
He draws the curtains. Yeah, he's just standing up there. It's like
that's also just a very
well, that. I like the detail that the grandfather is just a human, because to me that says that he just doesn't. He was never close enough to the grandfather to even consider him like a member of the family, essentially.
Oh, that's fair enough.
In the same way, he doesn't see Midori as a bird person just because she joins the family. He just has like kind of internal idea of like the people he kind of knew since he was a baby, like his parents and his uncle are really the only proper. It's also to do with them being actually I was gonna say it was closer to them being like main characters, but that's not true of the dad at all. Like, he's a very minor character in the grand scheme of things. So it is really as like the kind of core of his little planet Punpun to begin with, or the people who are the bird people.
It would have been. It's not bad that this didn't happen. It would have been great if Midori turned into a bird for like one chapter.
That would have been. That would be funny. Yeah, that would be funny, and it would not be unusual considering
Given how often Punpun changes forms
Yeah,
himself.
exactly. Like it's yes. Well, the other thing of this volume was the story with what's his face. I always forget his
Useki
name.
and
Yeah, this is one of my. I and I'm not sure if I would call it a gripe, but it's like one of the things I less enjoy about Punpun is when it cuts away to these two. Like it.
Yeah.
I really like. I do like Useki stuff.
I like
It's
it, but I wish
controversial.
I wish it was more related to Punpun. Like they should this should happen when they interact with Punpun, but they never really intersect with him. Like they make a point of showing that even when this is happening like next door to what Punpun is doing, they don't like meet up. Like they never talk to each other.
Yeah, I think this is very intentional. That it's just sort of the same wavelength, same vibration.
That's fine, but I don't really care about these two that much. I already am like my emotions already used up enough, like with how much I care about Punpun and the uncle and stuff. Like knowing that these two.
The whole point of these characters is it's sad that Punpun is losing his friends.
Yeah.
So it's like we really thought you guys leaving was the whole point, and now we're just following you.
Yeah, it's weird that it follows them because it doesn't follow anyone else. We don't get to see what Aiko's up to when Punpun isn't around. We don't know what the fuck is going on with any of the other friends that have all dropped out from the initial group. Like. It's an interesting. It feels more like a short story Asano wanted to tell, and he kind of like was like, well, there's no reason it couldn't happen in Punpun. I like the main guy's like I like his philosophy.
Yeah.
Kind of like bullshitting himself thing. I like him realizing that he's still a pretty nice guy despite all the stuff that's happened to him.
Yeah, the sun once again saves, or nature once again saves a life.
Yeah, like damn, it's a beautiful day out, or whatever he says.
And I think this, I'm not sure if this is the first time I realized it, but when we see him again in the first time we see him with the lady in the cafe, and she tells her story to him, we see that Punpun's mother is not only just sitting in the booth next to her, but she's also the one who cheated on, who her almost husband cheated.
Yeah, cheated with. Yeah, that's right.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm getting like a big pain in my head, like a psychic premonition. But I also feel like maybe the apartment where the old man dies in this chapter, maybe Punpun could inhabit later, which is kind of cool. I got this. Yeah, I just had a psychic.
The landlord is also one of the big MVP people.
Yeah, I like the landlord, or I will like the landlord more probably.
He gets some really good moments later.
Yes.
It'll be cool, man. I'll say about all like the bullshit side characters. In the end, it pays off to have had all these little asides the whole time. But I do remember
more
one
like
of my big
sort of thematic connection between them than in narrative.
These are always my like. I'm like devouring the chapters, and then that's like my slowdown. But it's like, oh, and I'm gonna do like a Seki chapter.
The first time I read it, Punpun, by the end, I was like, I get why all this other stuff is in here. I don't know if it was worth cluttering the good stuff with actual Punpun, but it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's not bad. It's just I want to always have Punpun in every panel essentially. But man,
wasn't it crazy that Punpun? What did you think about that shot where you see his like dick kind of going in and like his pubes are silhouetted by the light?
I thought it went pretty hard.
It's a memorable panel.
Yeah.
Like that's a weird thing too. Like I guess you don't see any of the shit that happens here in anything ever. But you especially don't see like a very realistic portrayal of like the dick going in.
Yeah,
where it has to be like aimed at the beginning, then it like kind of like slides as it goes. Like, oh my fucking god!
He gets as close to hentai on some of these chapters as as you can without it pivoting to it. Like later on too, like there's like lots of. I mean, I imagine there's lots of. I imagine there's lots of like blowjob stuff and dicks and stuff coming up, which is interesting. I like the scene a lot where they can't find the panel, but when he's like meeting with Midori again, and his hair is like gigantic and sticking across the room constantly, like across. That's like his personality now, is just this stupid gelled hair. And then I love the scene with his mom just like shouting at him, berating him in the middle of the station.
Fucking bitch! How clueless is she?
No, like I hate her, but it's also funny that like he's giving her like the stink eye in that way, because like I remember moments of that when I was 15, of also having like those days where I was just like you just feel the testosterone rising and you're done with someone, like some adults like trying to berate you because you're still a kid, but you're just like giving them the death. You're just giving them the death glare and being like, I hate you so much right now and I don't give a shit. That's bad. He's it ends really strongly, this volume with him going like getting excited with the Dharma and then going, God damn it, and throwing it so fucking hard on the floor. The eyes pop out. But things are looking up for Punpun. I mean, he's got a date.
Like,
he's got a date with a cute girl. This could only go well.
Normal this time around.
Yeah, like this will be good for Punpun.
Yeah, nothing.
I expect him to be fully capable of conducting a normal, like a couple relationship, because he's obviously so well adjusted. Like that's a big part of being able to have a relationship with someone, is having your own self-confidence. So that's good for Punpun, because I see his hair is very spiky. So that tells me he's self-confident.
I'm glad his long hair doesn't last that long. Because we needed a few extra Punpun forms to fill out, the overtime transformation.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't just have Punpun be medium Punpun for 100 chapters.
Yeah.
But I say that I grew my hair out at that age, and it's still fucking long. So maybe I can't
specifically being like a gelled quiff is the funny.
Yes, that is the funny part. He's like trying to like be in an emo band.
Yeah, exactly. He looks like My Chemical Romance
like Robert Smith,
like Robert Smith. Yeah.
One of the most bittersweet part.
Triangle, but it's also it does weird stuff where it like stretches really long. It does a thing where he puts like arrows at the end of it, where it's like when he's looking at stuff, his hair is like pointing at stuff, and then later it moves around like tendrils, sort of. Yeah.
This volume's very bittersweet for me, because this is the end of like classic Punpun, like the golden age of Punpun, where the dynamic with the uncle and the house he grew up in is still present. Like, I think one of my favorite scenes with the uncle, which you haven't seen yet, is very soon after this. Where he's talking to someone
on the rooftop. You mean?
Yeah, when he's talking on the rooftop.
I just guessed that, actually.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes with the uncle,
same.
But I think that's almost the last really good scene he gets. Not quite. He has some good ones, but the uncle takes a big step back after this volume, which is a bummer. And also, just like the dynamic with the mom is weaker. Like it's bittersweet, because this is one of my favorite volumes, but it's also, things change after this, and I get that's the point of Punpun, is like things change. Growing up is hard. Life is horrible. Prepare to be disappointed. But while Punpun, while the second, like, I don't know, is it half? Like the rest of Punpun still has great stuff, but this is like the end of the meat of what makes Punpun like so unique, and it just makes me sad.
Really? I mean, I don't think I agree.
This is the breaking point where, as I said earlier, where Punpun could have still like turned things around, and everything that comes after is pretty much just downward.
I agree that it is a turning point. I feel your divide, but I imagine I'll like Punpun more and more.
I like all of it.
The more I read it, like the deeper it gets into the chapters.
I like all of it too, but but when people look back on Punpun, I feel like the first 5 volumes is where they usually go first. Like this is Punpun at its most Punpun, I guess. Is that fair?
I guess, yeah, I guess so. I guess that's true.
We'll reconvene at the end. I don't want to undersell it too. Like there's lots of good. There's lots of amazing things in the rest of Punpun. Like Punpun is never bad, but it kind of like goes up and down a little more, like around the 2/3 mark.
You can imagine another Punpun where it like slowed down and kept this dynamic going for a lot longer. Like it still switched around between the uncle and him, and the mom stayed around longer, kind of thing.
The
dad maybe
fair.
shows up more and they have more stuff with him. I don't know. Yeah. That could have been.
And also like the loss of innocence thing being so big in Punpun.
Yeah.
Like in the rest of the story, he continues to lose innocence, but he's somewhat like he's been around the block at this point, so it just feels a little different.
Sort of where he sort of slowly stops being a victim and becomes the perpetrator.
Yeah, that's
a little bit. I don't even know what I'm saying right now because, again, all of Punpun is good, and everything after this is probably completely necessary. But I always feel like this is when like something is lost, like something I really liked about Punpun starts to go away.
Interesting.
Yeah, we'll see. Like if nothing else, like the child's view
that's
of life,
true. Yeah,
it starts to go away.
Growing up pace is over, and now we're regular.
Yeah,
we're never getting like normal bird Punpun again. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's honestly a big part of it.
Punpun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the star scene, like everyone's favorite panel, like the early one.
Yeah.
Obviously, that being early is part of the point, but it's like we're not gonna get a moment that like pretty again.
I have not
had
anything that's affected me in the same way as that turn to that 2-page spread did.
For me, the uncle at the shore was more impactful than the star panel.
Okay.
I didn't bawl my eyes out at the uncle on the shore, and I did at the star
panel.
And I also
like the one with Pegasus on the roof and I almost called him Carnegie. Punpun and Kanye and Seki and
the music of the like through the night.
Yeah.
That's
really
a good
nice.
I mean, the 2-page spreads are always like some of the best stuff because you really feel like he puts lots of hard work in them. Whenever you turn to one, you're like, yeah.
Oh, remember the one on this where like Punpun is almost lost? There's two. There's one where it shows the side of the building and it takes you a while to find Punpun trying to kill himself.
Yeah.
And then there's another one where he's on the street and it takes you a while to find him on the street, like next to the girl.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I think this is my final attempt to express that. It's kind of like it's kind of like with Punpun, something is like gradually building up. And this is the crest of whatever that is, and now we like slowly go over the other side of the hill. I'm not even sure what that is, but this is the peak of something, like some aspect of
the turning point is the destruction or half destruction of the Daruma doll, and Pegasus saying he's coming. This is the big turning point.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
I've also said this before. Like once you've for Michi, once he's finished, I mean, Green can read this right now to just go onto the Wikipedia page of Punpun and scroll down to the link to the super long interview with Asano about Punpun, which is very illuminating.
Oh.
Yeah. Well. Oh, God.
It'd be funny if it was just a blurb that said, look, I was in a bad place, okay?
Punpun is good. That is the blurb.
Yeah. I was in a bad place back then. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, it's it'd be funny if it was just like, I just like birds. Yeah, I mean, it's time for a lot of beatings start coming.
It would be funnier if he said birds. They just look like people.
Yeah.
he sees us all as birds except himself.
Like, what are you talking about? I just drew him like a normal person.
Yeah, I mean, that's Odd Taxi. Spoilers.
How dare you? Anyone listening to this, gouge your ears out right now.
Just forget what I said.
Okay.
And watch
I
Odd
would.
Taxi, it's good.
I wouldn't. Well, now I won't. Okay.
I've seen
Well,
Odd Taxi, so
Okay,
yeah,
I think-
exactly.
I think we've arced our last arc.
Yeah,
No,
we're
that's
done, and
not-
we are gonna read 5 volumes of Punpun next time. So get ready. I think we should at least read more than one because
I mean,
no skin off my rosy nose.
you're gonna
It's
fucking
already
forget
done.
it by the time we get
I
there.
am
So
not forgetting anything.
I'm like, I have days where I won't be available in the next 2 weeks, so we probably have more time to read stuff. So maybe that works out well.
oh my god. From the
I'll
mouth
just
of
finish it,
Babe.
From the mouth.
Don't! God damn it!
Okay, fine. I won't finish it. Chill out.
My fists will be within the same time code as you
Dude.
relatively soon.
Tinkle, tinkle, hoy! Please
Yeah,
save
tinkle.
me.
Yeah. Save me.
Please.
We need a running tally of times I've threatened Michi.
Yeah, at least once per
so that-
podcast.
Over now.
Okay. You will have a gun though.
I will.
Okay. The plot
Would we trust
thickens.
Michi with a gun?
No. I actually need to talk to RA. Like, which of us is going to give him like the speech at the beginning of like how to be safe? But
Queen, you're giving
we'll
the
get there
plot
when we
away.
get there.
Let's say our
What?
goodbyes to the lovely
Yeah.
audience. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Goodbye, sir.
Bye.